if you are keeping on top of things, if you're coping, but it just feels like it's a lot of effort, as if, oh my God, the hamster wheel, the constant treadmill of life is just, how am I going to keep on coping? At some point, something's got to give. Then this conversation between me and Judith about a guide, coping, not flourishing guide, that gives you hints and tips about how to move from coping to flourishing may very well help. And stick around to the end because Judith asks some fun questions, which helps you understand a bit more about me. But have a look at the timestamps. That tells you a bit more about what we're talking about and those fun questions at the end.
Hi, Alison. Nice to speak to you today. We are starting a lovely new series of little interviews to talk to you about your work and how you help people. And today I'm going to talk to you about your new amazing guide, Coping, Not Flourishing. So, what inspired you to create it and why now?
I think it was the fact that I was coping, not flourishing, but it was also the fact that I was talking to somebody and suddenly realised that the words I use to describe what I do, about being stuck, having a problem. It's like, well, I'm not stuck. I haven't got a problem. I'm coping. I'm keeping on top of everything. And
Mm,
it suddenly made me realise that everything I do is perhaps also aimed at people that are coping, they're just not flourishing. So there is a gap between where they are and where they want to be. And this particular PDF guide comes out of something that I had a revelation about, my own energy, in terms of, oh, yeah, I'm keeping on top of everything, but it's draining my energy. And therefore, I had a huge insight and therefore put together this guide because some of the insight in there may very well be why your energy is not where it needs to be.
yeah. So, can you tell us more about Kate? So, the woman that you had in mind when writing this guide, obviously, you're saying you had a reason from your point of view, but I know you specifically thought about this person, this woman, Kate, and what is going on in her life that makes this work that you've done so timely.
Hey, Kate is keeping on top of everything. She's there, she keeps
Mm,
going. It's like she turns up. She's got kids, she's got a husband, she's got, animals in the house, and she's managing to keep on top of all of that. But there's a sense of, but for how much longer? At which point am I going to fall off the hamster wheel? At which point am I going to fall off the treadmill? I can't keep on giving this level of energy and attention to keep all the balls. I mean, I've got so many metaphors there to keep all the balls
mm,
up in the air, to keep those plates spinning. Something's got to give. And
mm.
but I don't want to let anybody down. And actually, this guide goes, you don't have to change anything. You don't have to let go of anything. You've just got to slightly look at it differently.
I'm sure so many people can resonate with that. I definitely can. I'm going to ask you something quite fun just now, but they're at the end of the rest of the questions that I have for you today. There are quite a few fun ones. So definitely, if you're watching, stay tuned for the end because there's
Yeah, and I don't
a
know
couple of
what they
very
are.
funny ones. I know, exactly. I'm keeping them up my sleeve for you
Ah,
for later. Um, so Kate, who you have talked about, who sort of inspired the guide, she sounds like she's juggling all the things at the minute. I can certainly resonate with that. If she could outsource one part of her day, what do you think she would gleefully hand over? Because
ooh.
I definitely know what I would hand
Oh,
over.
help me out on this one because in some respects I think you're closer to Kate because you've got family. It's like me and the cat,
Hmm.
you know. What would I outsource?
I would outsource someone to come and clean my house every week at the minute because it has got to the point where I am probably a bit less than coping, actually. It's got to sort of slight overwhelm. And it's just one of those things that I feel like if I could keep on top of that thing, the rest of life might just be a little bit easier. So I would hand that over definitely today, not even tomorrow. Just do it right now.
But that's such a great example how everybody's ideal day is different because I have tried to move tidying my house up around my day, and or even not do it.
Mm.
But you know what? It starts my day really well. It's like I
No
get up.
way.
I don't hoover, I don't dust. But in terms of tidying, if I do tidying the house and putting everything so that everything's where it needs to be at the end of the day, it's not the right use of my energy at the end of the day. And there's something about putting everything in its place and putting stuff in the dishwasher and tidying everything up that really helps my brain make sense of what's ahead. I don't know if I'm also
Mm.
making sense of the day while I'm doing it, but I know I miss it when I don't do it. Oh, I
Isn't
was
that
really
so
good. I
interesting?
tidied the house up last night. No, because that gives some structure to my day, the beginning of my day.
Mm. And I know that's the premise a little bit of the guide, but
Yeah.
yeah, I know you describe it as a gentle guide. What makes your approach different from sort of the typical productivity or wellness advice that's out there at the moment? Because we have a lot of it, don't we? It comes at us from all angles. Why is your advice different?
Because a lot of the advice sort of says schedule everything and yes, come up with the thing you least want to do first, or allocate your set your timer, go. And that's great for getting things done, but that doesn't necessarily tune in to when things are better done for you, because the guide is all about you tuning in and going, when should I tidy up my house? Oh, I've already said
Mm.
first thing. It came about, if I'm honest, because I, you know me, I love going open water swimming, and I'd done it 10 consecutive days. But because of the
Mm.
tide, the timing of the swim had moved from like 6 o'clock in the morning through till 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And at day 10, I really wasn't enjoying it. It was oh, so it was the energy draining. So whereas if I do swimming first thing in the morning, it is enlivening, it is inspirational, it's oh my God, isn't this brilliant? And then it becomes a chore to do later on in the day. And it's like, what? I enjoy swimming and yet I'm finding it a chore. And so I think that then enabled me to start to look at what other things am I doing at the wrong time of day? I can't go swimming at 6 every morning because of the tide. So there is I can't go swimming today. But other things, like I realize that I am so much more creative between about 7 o'clock in the morning after I've tidied up, 7 o'clock in
Mm.
the morning and, 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
And so, but what was happening is I would sit down and then I'd start to sort of get distracted by email, or I'd think, oh, I've got that on my list, do your most
Mm.
important thing first. It's like, yeah, but that's an admin-y thing. I've got to do my accounts. Why am I
Hmm.
using, you know, lovely energy, creative energy first thing in the morning to do my accounts when
Mm.
by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, that accounting, do this, do that, open that Excel spreadsheet, move that around. My head's able to do that at 3 in the afternoon. It isn't able to write a poem or write a newsletter or, start writing chapters of my book. So it's
Hmm.
that giving myself permission to move things around and to sort of keep focused. No, no, it's all right. You're just doing the poem writing or the newsletter writing this morning. No, you're going to do your emails later. That's fine.
Mm.
They're
Mm.
not getting
Mm. Mm.
forgotten. They've just moved to a time when my brain is better able to cope with them.
It's in that mode. I know that is one of the key ideas of the guide is about aligning your day with your energy. So you've just talked about that really beautifully. And also I was going to ask you why that is so important, but I think you've really described it because I think when you do stuff when it's not the right time of day, you're not necessarily in flow or whatever it is, the way you would describe it, it could just feel really sort of walking through treacle.
Well,
You
when it's
didn't
not the
like it. You
best.
felt sort of resentful of swimming, which is just awful because you're such a lover of that activity in your life. So, and I know that, so this is one for you. So many people feel like they are constantly on the go. I mean, I just feel like I'm looking at my diary the night before, the next day, going, right, what is it I need to do? But. There's just constantly on the go, but I'm not really thriving. So how can the guide help someone? So help, say, someone who's listening to this can really resonate with that. How can it help them move from just coping to something more meaningful, to feeling like
Just
they're
by rearranging
flourishing?
the day. But I think the thing is that, I mean, I say it's just rearranging your day. It's rearranging your day based on conscious awareness. So that's the
Right.
key. The key
Mm.
is we go around on autopilot. Of course, we have to be on autopilot. We can't think about everything minutely that we do during the day. So we have to be
Mm.
able to cut corners and go, oh, I know how to do toast. Oh, I know how to brush my teeth. Oh, I know how to put my clothes on in the morning, or how to get out of bed. So there are lots of things that we do on autopilot that it makes sense to do it. But it's when it goes into autopilot, we don't think about why we're doing what we're doing, when we're doing it, or how we're doing it. And so bringing into conscious awareness, so there's sort of two elements to the guide. The first bit is this sort of energy audit of going, so what are you doing when, and how does it make you feel? And is that how you ought to feel when you're doing that activity? So for me, writing the newsletter, I mean, you mentioned walking through treacle, but it's not just walking through treacle if I do it in the afternoon. It's like I'm in no flow. It's like there's no, I bet it comes over in the reading of it. It's mean because
I know what you mean.
I'm just doing it as a tick box rather than me going, oh, what would I like to say, which I would do in the morning.
Mm.
But I
And I
think it's
think,
about bringing it into conscious awareness, because unless we're consciously aware of, oh, how am I feeling in this moment to be doing this? And so a really small example, and it sort of goes beyond what the guide does. But what I realized and I've noticed as part of this being consciously aware is when I get to 5 o'clock at night and start thinking about what I want to have for tea, I don't have access to a brain that is able to look in the um, whatever it is, fridge, looking hasn't got the ability to look in the fridge and go, oh yeah, this is what I can make with it. So often I would then end up having cereal because I could not think what to make. So a
oh my
subtle
goodness.
check. Now, if you just think about that impact on my energy levels for the day, because it's just grabbing whatever's at hand. Now, I am not the sort of person that can live with whatever I decided on a Sunday what I'm going to eat all week. So that doesn't work either.
No.
But at the beginning of the day, part of my creative bit, my brain is creative. It knows what I have got in the fridge. And then it can go, all right, this is what you're eating today. And then I can
Mm.
guarantee that more often than not, I actually then, I mean, I might change it, but
Mm.
I've thought about it. If I change it, at least I'm changing it for something healthy. I never change it
Yeah.
for oh, yeah, let's still go for cereal.
Mm.
So I think it's just bringing into conscious awareness when is the best time, in this instance really detailed, when's the best time to make a decision about what you're eating, and notice what happens when you move it around, because it's not stressful when I do it first thing in the morning. It's
Mhm.
stressful at 5 o'clock at night where I'm going, I'm hungry, oh, I don't know what to eat,
Mm.
and so what I've moved it to a time when it's easier, so it's quicker to make a decision,
Mm. Mm.
flows through the rest of the day.
I know.
Why wouldn't you? Into me.
And yeah, it's so interesting hearing you talk about autopilot and conscious awareness because, yes, like you say, we do need to do some stuff on autopilot. We can't be completely on all the time. But I quite often will get to the end of the day and think, I don't really know how I got here. It's that way of when you're driving the car sometimes and you sort of get to your destination and think, oh my goodness, like, how did I do that? I don't remember get driving. And I am so aware that I'm not aware of what I've been doing. I've just been going on autopilot and just getting things done. And that is, I think, what that coping, not flourishing thing feels like. It just feels like autopilot. It feels like just churning out the tasks. Yes, you may be productive. And what it sounds a bit like to me there when you talk about your day, and it sounds like not just productivity. It's not just, okay, I can get that meal idea done in the morning and I get my newsletter done. You're still able to be productive in the afternoon. It's just the types of tasks and when you do them, what is better to do when. So you've talked about the energy audit, which I love. It's helping you be more aware of what's happening at the minute. There's also in the guide what's called a daily compass. Can you talk us through a little bit about how that might help someone?
I
Don't give
think
too many details, obviously, because we want people to get the guide, don't we?
it's the compass is just a mechanism of, I suppose it's a bit like the Wellbeing template that I came up with, in terms of it's
Mm,
just somewhere where you can write down your insights about, first thing in the morning, I'm better off doing me what I'm going to eat. I'm
mm,
better off doing creativity. No, let's move admin till later. I've also realized that I need to move. What is it? I've got to move to the afternoon. Learning.
yeah,
Learning is
okay.
learning is well, learning is a nice from creativity to admin. So my day, so the compass is, point to, that time of day is a creative space, then it goes into open to learning, and then it's into
Mm,
admin, and then
mm.
it's downtime.
Love that. Love that. That's what I love about the guide is that it does have specific tools that someone can work through. So you help them go through the stages. So it's not just, there's specific questions and things for people to have a think about.
Mhm.
So say someone is thinking about downloading the guide, but they're thinking, oh God, here we go, another self-help download. So there are quite a few out there. What would you say to that person right now if they're listening? Why should they give this one a go?
It's the answer I give to when anybody says, why should I listen to any of what you say, Alison? Which is if what you're doing is working, you don't need to change what you're doing. It's fine.
Mm,
However, if there's a gap between where you are and where you want to be, and you've come across this guide and you're thinking, oh, I'd never even thought about the order in which I do what I do. I just do what comes at me first. Then this may be the one for you.
mm,
I
mm.
think
And it's a, yeah.
I'm not saying the others wouldn't work, because if somebody hasn't tried something else before, then it might be the fact that they do need to get more structure to the day and just write down, I'm going to do
Mm,
this, then it's going to take me an hour and a bit, or be more focused and turn things off or whatever. But for me,
mm,
and this is why I've written the guide, I suppose, for me, yeah, I've tried all of those. And what I hadn't fully understood was, I just need to move things around and I feel better at
mm,
the end
mm,
of the day.
mm. So, so interesting because yeah, we do see about time blocking, time management,
Mm.
distraction. This is a completely different
Yeah.
way of looking at it. I love it. So, if someone does read the guide and say they feel something shift, I know I definitely had such a big insight into how I structure my day. Even structure feels too sort of structured. It's just such a flowy feeling to the guide. It's very different. So say someone does feel a shift, what is the next step they can take with you to go beyond the guide?
I think the first thing would be follow me on YouTube, because that's a great place to find me. I'm always exploring more about what we do. There's loads of access to other free resources, I suppose. There's also my alisonsmith.co blog. Again, more recently, I've done an index. One of the things that I work with is common phrases we use when we're stuck, and then how to use the metaphor within that phrase to get back on track. So there's an index. So there's quite a lot of free resources out there. You've just got to either follow the blog, follow me on YouTube, and you'll find it. But
Mm,
obviously there is coaching available, and a more recent newsletter I've done. So again, sign up for the newsletter, shared more about the different coaching services, because actually if you're very, very specific about what you want to change, we
mm,
might be able to do it in 15 minutes. So there
mm,
is a
mm,
coaching session that you can have that's, here's 15 minutes. You're not going to talk about the situation, we're just going to use the metaphor. So you're not ringing up to give me 15 minutes download exploration about your problem. We're going to go
mhm,
straight into metaphor, and you're going to use the metaphor to find solutions. Up to a 1 to 2 day retreat where you come, you spend some time on your own in nature with me dipping in and out as needed. So that's sort of perhaps a bit more of a life reboot. would be
Hmm.
1 to 2 day retreat. But quite often people are just coming for 1 or 2 sessions because once they've got access to these tools, they can do it themselves. It's, but I absolutely believe you have the answers you need. Metaphor is such a brilliant way of accessing your inner wisdom. So all I do is give you the tools. This audit, this guide is one of them. But there's loads of tools out there that enable you to then go, okay, that's my inner wisdom. That's what I need to do.
Yeah, yeah. I love the way, I mean, I know I've done some sessions you using your landscape in your life model, and it is like magic. The metaphor stuff works so well because yes, you're not going into the full story, you're not rehashing it all, and it's not a download, as you say. It's a completely different way of doing things. So I would love to encourage anybody who's listening to this to give it a go, to contact you. And even if it is a 15-minute session or up to a 2 day retreat, you will definitely get something. It is unbelievable how quickly it can sometimes work. Feels like magic. Yeah. So Alison, we have talked a lot about the guide and how it can help. It's been great hearing all about it. And now I want to ask you some fun questions, because it wouldn't be an Alison-y conversation if we didn't have a good laugh as well.
All right.
So,
All right, cool.
um, if coping were, so obviously the guide's coping, not flourishing. Um, if coping were a character in a film, what would they look like? And how would flourishing make their dramatic entrance?
Laughter because I haven't got a clue. Okay, but my head went, oh, do I go down the Star Trek, my sci-fi route? But anyway, currently I'm fully immersed in Downton Abbey again.
Oh, loving it.
And the cook, whose name I can't remember, but I should be able to. But anyway, the cook is absolutely coping. She's barks here and there, get this done, get that done. She gets very flapped, but nevertheless, the dinner always arrives on the table when it's supposed to be. So she's coping, but her reaction when they had electricity was just, you know, even sort of like the lighting, and then it was the implement. So like somebody'd got a oh toaster, and then more recently there's been a blendery thing, and
Wow.
so it was that whole, so that would be it really, the fact that it's more the post. So she thinks she's keeping on top of things. Actually, not only is she is keeping on top of things, but she's actually resistant to the things that could help her flourish.
Mm-hmm.
And yet there's loads of things out there. Because I think what happens when we're coping is we don't think there's anything else, that this is how it should be, and we've just got to keep doing what we're doing, not realizing that there are little magical things that we can do, just like she sees the toaster or the mixer, that
Mm.
can make life so much easier because we haven't seen it. We're not aware. So that would be my.
So, and I can imagine my question to you is, how does flourishing make the dramatic entrance? And I'm sure for the cook in Downton Abbey, seeing things light up and work on their own accord probably feels like, what is this? It feels dramatic to her.
Last
And she
night,
immediately just wants to go, don't want to do it, but
yeah, last night, the one, I mean, because I'm zooming through them again,
hmm.
it was the radio.
Oh yeah.
And they're going,
Imagine hearing a
and
voice coming out of something.
yeah, and it was the king, because actually the guy was resistant, so I don't want to radio, I don't want to radio house. Oh, what do you mean? The king's doing an announcement. We would better
Mm.
get a radio. And they're just all there. Oh, and then of course, so he's bought into it because of the king bit, but then the youngsters are going, oh look, we can turn to a different channel and we get music, and
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
so
Oh, lovely.
I think it's that's how life can be, that we can be resistant about things that are the equivalent of the radio arriving, or
Oh, what a lovely example.
electricity.
Okay, so what is one little rebellious thing that you do in your day just because it feels good to do it and not in any way because it's productive or as if you should? I know you're one for not doing this. What is it? Musts,
Must,
oughts, and
oughts, and
shoulds.
shoulds. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, so what do you do just because it feels good for you?
Um, I got a new cat in January, and within
Oh.
days, so I don't know if it's rebellious as much as because I'm now I wouldn't be without it, but the brushing her and saying hello to her in the morning is such a
Mm.
joy. You know, it doesn't tick any boxes, but it starts the day off after I've tidied the house, interestingly. Oh, is it? No, I have to do the cat first now and then how tidy the house.
Oh,
But because she's sitting there now, she now expects it. So there's
oh my
a,
goodness.
she runs ahead of me, jumps onto the bed, we have a brush.
Oh,
If I forget, she'll come and meow at me.
little Willow. She's
Little
so
Willow,
beautiful.
indeedy.
I love that. Okay, so next one. If you could give every woman like Kate, we talked about Kate earlier, if we could give her a magical object to help her flourish, what would
Yeah.
it be and why? What would you give her?
I could go back to my earlier one about everybody should have a mixer and a radio. You see, my brain goes from a landscaping your life point of view. It's like, oh, do I give them a seed? And then my head goes, oh, that's a bit too small. Do I give you an acorn? And then
Hmm.
I've got an acorn over here, but next to the acorn is fir cones.
Yeah.
And so I'm
You're
going
gonna
to
have to explain this to me.
so I'm going to give everybody fir cones because fir cones apparently open and close with the weather. So and there's an element of trying to appreciate. Because sometimes I feel when we're coping, it's as if we think we have to be open all the time and we're not being flexible. And it's like, oh no, I've got to cope, I've got to cope, I've got to cope.
Mm.
Whereas an acorn flexes with the weather. And that's what we're inviting you to do is with this guide, which is flex what you do to the external environment. You know, whether it's the time of day, whether it's nature, you know. So for instance, I mean, I've come up with what my um, ideal day is, but that goes out the window on a Monday
Yeah.
because Mondays are organised day. The Mondays are not creative days. It's like no. I could move creativity into Saturday, Sunday as well, but not a Monday. Monday
Mm.
is a organising day. Going to do this, do this. Brain's not there. So I think it's
Mm.
we might have flexibility over the week. We might have flexibility over a month or seasons.
So the little
Like
the little fir cone could be, yeah, like a little reminder to everybody.
to be
Uh,
flexible. Yeah, to be
it would
flexible.
remind Kate just that she can be flexible to how she feels
Yeah,
and
yeah.
her energy. I love that. And I can just imagine a little landscape in your life, fir cone, little
Yeah,
charm or little thing that we could gift to Kate.
yeah.
Couldn't we? Wouldn't that be lovely? Okay, last one. Here we go. What is one metaphor? Because obviously Alison Smith is the
Oh,
metaphor
right, yeah.
specialist. What is one metaphor from nature that perfectly sums up the shift from surviving to thriving? And why do you love it?
I have to go back to gardening because gardening's where it all started in the late 90s, well, mid to late 90s.
Mm.
For those of you that were watching that even were born then. But anyway, um, and so it's about the gardening, and it's that whole piece around that if you just plonk a plant anywhere without thinking about what conditions it needs, it might not thrive. Because, we could put it in clay soil, we could put it, it might need some shade, and we've put it in direct sun. We might not water it. We've had a lot of sun here in Scotland recently. Plants have needed more watering, or even watering when they perhaps wouldn't normally. So I think so the metaphor is about realizing that plants need TLC and thought about how we interact with them. They might need pruning, they might need time in the greenhouse, and realize that we too do need that. as individuals,
Yeah,
and
of
not
course
to
we do.
beat ourselves up because we've failed to realise we've been plonked in the corner, that we're right next to the compost. I didn't realise that a lot of composts, we always think compost's good, but most plants don't want to be put straight into compost.
Is it too
Compost,
much?
yeah, too much, too rich. You have to put it on the top and allow the goodness to seep through to the roots.
Wow.
So yes, so I could carry on and carry on about the gardening metaphor because time in the greenhouse. When did you last have time in the greenhouse?
Mm.
Having
It's very interesting because my dad has an allotment, quite a large garden space. And for the first couple of years of planting it, he couldn't work out why there was one patch of ground where nothing would grow. He's like, what is going on? Until he realized that it was beside the sort of hedgerow where the big trees grow and all their roots were coming and taking all the nutrients and things from that area. And he's like, oh, so if we just swap around the stuff, just don't use that bit or use that for sort of stuff that doesn't need much,
yeah.
and moved around a bit like move around your day, move your activities to different places and see.
Oh, how good, how
Oh!
good. The other thing about gardening is if you've got a garden, if you're listening and you've got a garden, you've got a problem you'd like insight on, then one of the techniques in the landscape toolkit is go out into the garden and just notice what you notice. Because you might know, oh, look, that plant, like I've got sunflowers at the moment and they're staked. Well, perhaps I need a bit of support. So it's
Yeah.
I suppose the other bit, going back to gardening, sorry, is when you plant a seed, you don't keep digging it up to check it's growing. You give it what it needs and have a belief that, because there are some seeds that won't flower this year, they'll flower next year.
Oh my
So it's
goodness.
not about being impatient once we've sown seeds. It's just giving the seeds the TLC they need and having patience and faith that some of those seeds, because not all of them will grow.
Oh my goodness. What a lovely way to finish. And I think the guide can really help people to look more at how they are going about their day and ensure that they flourish, ensure that they're giving themselves permission to not be on all the time, to let some stuff go. And even it's not even about letting stuff go necessarily, it's just about moving it around. Because I think
Yeah.
some people can get a bit, I can't let stuff go. Like I know for me, I can't just drop half of what I do. I have to do it, but it's just figuring out when works best. And the guide has helped me so much with figuring out what goes where the best. So thank you so much. And yeah, I'm sure everybody is going to love it.
Thank you. And if you've enjoyed what we've talked about, then do leave us a comment, do follow, and also, more importantly, let us know what you'd like future conversations to be about. We've thought about doing it about my 2 books, about poems, about some of the landscape tools in the toolkit to help you get back on track. But we'll be guided by you. What would you like to hear us talk about?